Well, thank you very much for having me here today. I really appreciate being here. This presentation was originally an hour and a half. We cut it down to 30 minutes. I think I have 5 minutes now, but I had 2 Red Bulls this morning, so we're going to be okay. We'll get through it fairly quickly here. I'm certainly not a subject matter expert on mental health, but I'm probably a subject matter expert on the failure that we had in our system and identifying some of those things that we could do better and recognize what's going on with suicides across the nation and not only in ours. So I kind of want you to look at this as what the CP's role could be in how we recognize the mental health effects, but also maybe the mental health effects that are going to start affecting our CPs when they're out there in the field and what's going on. It's quite interesting for us from the States to see what's happening in Canada, because I think you guys are light years ahead of us when it comes to taking care of your providers. We're still kind of struggling through it because we're such a dysfunctional EMS system in the United States. We're not as put together as you guys are here. So first off, raise the hands of how many people have had a suicide in their agency over the last year. Quite a bit. So I think as leaders, our goal should be that when somebody like me stands up here and asks that question, that goes to 0. So Lewis actually gave a great history of our system yesterday, so with time and all that, we'll just kind of go through. But the important part of this is our system has transitioned from a volunteer system into a paid system. We're about a staff of 30 full-time people. But the transition and the entry into our system is very important when it comes to mental health and the expectations of a provider, and how our people have entered into our system and how they've become paramedics or become EMTs, and what those expectations are. In the original days of our volunteer system was, come and jump in an ambulance, lights and sirens, it's cool, and you get to drive fast, with no expectation of what the horrific events you might be a part of. So with that, just a quick video here. So we enter into this system with this world of resilience, but the resilience that we enter into is that resilience of the leader being tough and making sure we maintain our staffing, making sure we are there to make sure we have responses. And all this stuff we go through with the sacrifice, the loss of our family time, personal safety. As we move up through this evolution of entry into the system, into this leadership role, that resilience is a little bit different than what you guys are showing up here with the resilience to the battlefield. And as leaders, we need to still recognize and make sure that we are compassionate to the fact that that resilience that we are gaining as leaders sometimes does not equate to what we need to be teaching our people. Oops, sorry. So that was a call in our system with one of our medics. At the time, we had all these barriers, we had all these things put up in front of us that, we thought this guy would get better. We thought things would just evolve, that, he's a tough medic, he drank to have fun, he did all these things. The fear of the judgment of his peers around him, small town, difficulty with resources, difficulty with what we had available to us at the time, difficulty for me as the chief to recognize what he was going through and that it just wasn't part of the culture, just wasn't part of what we're all used to. We deal with this, and sometimes this is how we deal with it. And definitely then the stigma around this whole suicide and what do we do with it and how do we deal with it. So that's kind of where usually I need to stop and walk out of the room, because that's pretty revealing to a chief when this video shows up on your desk from one of your captains who's one of your lead paramedics in our agency, integrated very much throughout our hospital, and shows me this video that I had no idea the trials and tribulations she went through. But then to look at it as an opportunity to say, hey, we can make a difference and we can change. So the light of day is the paramedic you heard the 911 call on, Andrew, was one of our top paramedics, outstanding, and he still is. So this is the result of the survey that they came, and I'll just kind of zip through this fairly quickly, and then afterwards, if you want to ask me some questions on what we've done and some of the challenges we've had, feel free to. But quite an amazing survey that went out at 4,000 responses. And these responses came back in such a short period of time that everybody was just astounded. I mean, within a week's period of time, there was almost 2,000 of those responses. And in 2 weeks, they had about 4,000 responses. And they left this survey open for about 30 days. There's all kinds of results in this, and I'm just going to give you a snapshot of them. But basically, 85% of the paramedics interviewed in the United States said that they had experienced critical stress, and 66% didn't seek help. What was interesting is that 37% of them contemplated suicide, which is quite high compared to the CDC study in the United States of the national average, and then 6% is attempted, which is, again, astounding. But more amazing to us and to me when I saw these results back is that what we saw is this declining graph of when they were contemplating compared to when they were getting help. So when they had no encouragement, no support, the numbers are real high of what they were trying to do. When they did have full support and encouragement, and especially from their leadership teams, and there was pathways for them, their ability to, or that rate went down dramatically. Only 75% or 75% of the workplaces in the United States that we surveyed had access to help, but the help was very non-productive. So a lot of the providers just said that the counselors just didn't get it. Some of them went in for their hour session and the counselor left the room crying or told them to quit their job or didn't even want to focus on what the job was. The survey results on who felt support, only 48% felt support from management, which is horrific in my point of view, because that should be 100%. And then the other numbers there that you see what we can do. But I love this quote here: the culture of any organization is shaped by the worst behavior the leader is willing to tolerate. And I think we have to be more empathetic and open to how we look at suicide in our industry. Again, the numbers showed that those that contemplated suicide, 56% of them did with no support and 23% of them did with full support. Now, we have a long ways to go to get that 23% down, but as you can see, those numbers decline through the different questions. 49% didn't sense a need I think all of these, when I put leadership underneath there, it's a leadership issue. We have to create that sense of need. We have to create that openness. We have to take the stigma away, and we as leaders have to do something better as our people entering into the system, and while they're in the system, how we can get them help. So just real quickly, like I said, I'm not a subject matter expert, but in our industry, we need to start understanding, and we need to understand things like the mental health continuum model and understand what that means and how that affects our paramedics, and so we can recognize when they become ill and how do we get them back down. And as we saw, both with Andrew, he's a fully functioning paramedic. He's one of my lead flight paramedics right now. We entered him back to the system. We've removed the complete stigma out of our hospital and out of our pre-hospital care system that he had an issue. We continually support him every day, and now he is becoming an advocate against suicide in EMS. And Monique also, she's now talking nationally about this, and for someone to be able to put a video together like that and put it out nationally, it's quite remarkable in my mind. So our program, basically, it's leadership awareness. See something, say something. And we engage our employees all the time with education. We also have a system with First Watch that Alina Health does too. We work real close with them on triggers, so when we have something that falls into what we would consider a critical incident, we get a trigger, and then that triggers a team approach with a risk assessment tool that we developed, and then we have those people meet with myself or my leadership team and see if there's anything we can do for them, and then navigate them throughout our system. We also started a call center where our paramedics are able to call in and actually get some help if they need. The tools that we're using, like I said, is First Watch. We have an EAP program, and now we have a more engaged EAP program, not one where the paramedic meets for an hour and the counselor leaves crying. And then, of course, we use some of the other tools out there with Code Green and Reviving Responders. There are some great tools out there, and it's not a one tool fits all. It's a multiple of tools that you can get out to your people. This video that is one we put together, and it's about empathy, but I do need to recognize Kevin Davis is a Canadian artist that this song was, that he gave us permission to use this song on.
It was a dark and stormy night, nor'easter rolling in. It's a long 12 hours, the power's out again. I pray for inner strength and that we don't lose no lives. Just another day in the first responders' eyes. Half a cup of coffee's gone, the first run comes in. A car slid off the road, there's a family trapped within. My heart beats like a hammer, I can barely catch my breath. I'm thinking the worst and hoping for the best. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Now my shift is finally over, I gotta deal with what's mine and try to find a way to leave those tragedies behind. So I hug my 2 children, I kiss on my wife. Just another day in a first responder's life. Yeah, we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference, and the first on every scene. It's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this burden when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone. Flashing lights fill the air, broken bodies everywhere. Another bad dream is stealing my sleep. 'Cause we ain't superheroes, we're just ordinary people trying to make a difference and the first on every scene. And it's a heavy, heavy burden to carry all this hurting when you can't unsee the things you've seen. It keeps going on. When those sirens are gone, it keeps going on. When those sirens are gone.
So hopefully a couple takeaway home points with this whole thing. And, you know, we need to change the stigma, and we need to act now. You know, we can't cause any more harm, but we definitely as leaders need to engage and act now and change who we are and how we recognize it and why we became what we became. Obviously, we need more studies, and those are coming. There's a lot of people engaged in this process, and I think we will make a difference, but we'd ask that the leaders make the change first and really start engaging in the employees. So thank you very much. If you can answer any questions, I'm more than happy to afterwards.
Thank you, Pat, and this affects every paramedic service in every country. David Waters from Australia, Martin from the UK, myself, and Randy Mello are going to get together by conference call in the next few weeks and start cataloging what's going on and try to get some inter-country coordination.